So this is the acta35 conversation. I'm Neil Beddoe, Artistic Director of ACTA, and I'm in conversation this morning with Ingrid Jones, who's ACTA's Associate Director. Morning, Ingrid.
Good morning, Neil. Lovely to see you.
And you, and you. So I'm going to just click off this title screen so we can see each other better. There we are. Glorious Technicolor. So thanks for giving the time this morning. There's a few things I want to talk to you about. We could probably talk for about 4 hours about all the things, but I don't think anyone will watch it. So we're going to try and keep to a brief 15-minute conversation. And I'm going to share with you some photographs from different projects you've worked on, and some of them that we've worked on together. And you've been working for ACTA for many, many years now, decades, I think we can say. In that time, we've done a lot of work together. And I wanted to start with a project that we both really loved, which is ISAR. And the reason why I want to show this is that it's just a fantastic moment, but also I know it's something very dear to your heart, and possibly also because of the young person on the screen.
Absolutely, I loved Mother Ice Heart. It was one of those shows that was a real gem when it started to grow when we were devising it, and we just got more and more excited. I remember the two of us working on it, and these ideas were sort of coming up from the group, and we got so excited. And I always loved the feel of the show. It was slightly eerie, but very magical and sort of mystical. And Amy, who you can see on the photograph there, I'd worked with quite a few years. She was one of the young carers, so she'd come through the young carers youth theatre, so started when she was quite young, and was always a fantastic performer. And then she agreed to be part of ACT Company, and I was so excited to be able to continue that link with her. And yeah, she was fantastic in this role, the spider keeper in Mother Ice Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very special show, and I think a large part of that. So we had an ACTA advanced group, which was mostly adults, but there came a point when we started to invite young people who had sort of moved into youth theatre to join, and I think that's something we're going to talk about a bit later. But I think it's just a really good. It's a good example of how at ACTA people may start as children sometimes, but continue to engage with the company and move through different things in what we call ACTA Company, which we can talk about in more detail a little later. I want to take you on to the next photograph, because one of the things I know that is one of your great loves in this work is heritage work, and this one I believe is one of your favourites. I wonder whether you talk a little bit about your heritage work with ACTA, particularly this project, which I didn't work on, so I always love to hear about it.
Oh, Lost Not Forgotten. Yeah, I absolutely loved Lost Not Forgotten. So we did what it said on there in 2014, and it was a part of the sort of centenary of the World War One, and it was I've always, as you say, Neil, loved heritage projects, and have done quite a few through the years, some with our ACTA company, some with young people, often site-specific ones with the young people, which I've absolutely loved. I think there's bringing to life the history of a particular site in England is just so exciting. Well, anywhere, but we've been lucky enough to work on some really exciting sites around Cleve Abbey, Farley Hungerford Castle. There was also the Bishop's Palace in Wales. And all those projects with the young people, and it's bringing to life the history of the site we were on, as was with Lost Not Forgotten here at Arnathal Cemetery, which is in the heart of Bristol. And that project, there was something so inspiring about how the young people just took the stories and gave them so much thought and put so much into it. And I think because they were bringing to life people that were buried at Arnathal who died in connection to World War One, they felt a real sense of occasion, and they really wanted to put everything into bringing to life those stories. And we sort of toured around the cemetery performing scenes about the people that are buried right near where they were actually buried, where their remains still are. So it was a very poignant piece, but it's the whole working together with those young people. We were on site for a week running up to the show, but did lots of rehearsals in acta prior to that, and it was just magical, just wonderful. Every performance made me cry, let alone the audience. It was very poignant.
I think what I love about this photograph is and it really shows how important it is to work with when you work with participants, people can create characters and play characters that completely their own age. And having these young men in the present day playing characters of their age, it really brought home to me when I went round just how young the soldiers were when they signed up and when they went away to be slaughtered. And this picture here of Peter, I think, is particularly poignant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm just going to move us on, because this is the main meat of what it'd be good to talk about with you today. And this is a photograph from a recent show, Clippies. I wonder whether you just give us a little bit of background of that. I'll just stop the share. It's a lovely photograph.
Beautiful.
So let's talk a bit about Clippies.
Clippies. Oh, well, another historical project which I've absolutely loved. And I think what actors so good at doing is finding those stories which haven't been told before, that people don't know about. And as with Gas Girls before, and Clippies, and the stories of Lost Not Forgotten. But with Clippies, it's that story. It's a Bristol story, a local history story that people just don't know about. And we were lucky enough, yourself and me, we were sort of researching ideas for plays and projects that we could do, looking at sort of 100 years ago in Bristol history. And I think it was you that stumbled upon the original. We were looking at newspaper clippings from 1920s Bristol, and found this story about the Clippies, about Bristol tramways, and how there was actually riots in Bristol 100 years ago, where all the people in Bristol kind of went out onto the streets and were sort of rioting against the fact that there's so many of the ex-servicemen from the First World War had come back and were unemployed, and there was such mass unemployment, and all these young soldiers that had fought for their country had come back, and there was just no jobs for them, there was nothing for them. And the resentment sort of grew and grew, not just in Bristol, but throughout the UK. But it was the riot in Bristol, which is the story that we were focusing on, and it became the feeling got so heated that they actually were taking it out on the young women who were working and who'd been working so hard through the war, and the Clippies who were working on the Bristol tramways became a real target for this anger and frustration that the people were feeling. And it culminated in May in these couple of days of rioting, where they dragged the girls off the trams, threw stones at them. And thank you, Neil, as this photo beautifully shows. So here we have four of our young women being four of the Clippies in 1919, and where they had just experienced the riot, and they'd been dragged off the trams, they'd had their hair pulled, they'd been shoved around, and here they are sort of picking each other up, looking after each other after the riot, just bewildered and confused by what had just happened.
I think what is one of the things I love about this photograph, in a way with the photograph of Peter before, is that you've got 4 young women here who all came into this show via youth theatre. I mean, some of them, I mean, Jeannie there and Mandy, I know both of them started with acta when they were very young at, well, maybe, I think Mandy was at primary school and Jeannie was first year secondary. So they sort of learned their skills through youth theatre and then moved on to this. And it means that you've got that opportunity to do very authentic play, you know, plays where people are playing their own ages, where it's very authentic, where they're using the sort of Bristol accent, Bristol dialogue. It always, for me, it just makes it so real.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it so real. I'm going to move on to these photographs. Yeah, and the thing about this photograph, apart from showing what you know, how much you can do with so little, because we had very little budget on this, and we're having to do it all on a shoestring. But it's the intergenerational nature of the cast. I think was so special about this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having children playing the children made such a difference, and I think there was so much of the stories which were so poignant and really pulled at heartstrings of the audience. And they're really important stories to tell. Is you need all the generations to tell those stories, and you need children playing children to tell those stories. And we had 3. He's not in the picture. I was just checking. Alfie's not there. There's three children that made up the cast with this, with the adults as well, and to be able to tell the stories of the children, what was happening for them as well as the adults, was just fantastic. That's a great photo.
Yeah, it is a great photo. I do have some of the children. Here's the. Yeah, I'll just flick through these. They're such a beautiful photograph. But I think, you know, I'm going to go back. Yeah, let's go and look at the children, and we'll move back. Here they are. So yeah, so lovely to have children involved, and I think for audiences as well that they really enjoyed their performances, and they were able to. They just gave that. Yeah.
They were great, and I think you know, we were very lucky to have 3 children who performed so well, and again took it so seriously, and were so professional in their response to the stories. You know, and they're quite difficult stories, especially, you know, Annie playing a character, the girl in the middle in this photograph here, playing a character who is near to death through illness, you know, brought on through poverty really. And Alfie, on the left on the photo there, again playing a really difficult role, that a child who's, you know, really struggled through losing his father in the war, and the difficulties they face, and then to be taken away from his mother, a really difficult scene to play, especially because he was actually playing it with his own mother. His, you know, his real life mother as well as his character mother. Really difficult scene to play, but it, you know, played very well, and yeah, really poignant. And those stories were so important to tell, because again they were all based on true stories that we'd found in the newspapers from 1920 that really showed how difficult those times were, and what it was really like in 1920s Bristol. It's really important to get those stories in.
Yeah, I mean, I think do you think it made it more difficult to put the play together and direct it, though, from your point of view, having the children there, or was that fine?
It was actually fine. I think sometimes the later evenings that we had to do because of the cast working commitments, sometimes they did get tired, and there would be times when you would try and adjust the rehearsal to accommodate that, so that they could leave earlier and work on other scenes after them. But they were very, very good, and would sit and sort of do some drawing, and they certainly weren't a distraction during rehearsal, and were very professional. But I think tiredness and sort of late nights and long Saturdays when we did long rehearsals could be quite difficult for them, but it was easy to accommodate them.
Did it make it difficult for the adults in the cast, do you think? I mean, I'd say it was intergenerational, and it can be quite, I've done projects in the past with intergenerational cast where the adults have wound up not appreciating the children, let's say. But how did it work on Clippers?
I didn't find that the case. I think the rest of the cast really enjoyed having the children there and really valued them. I think what was difficult was for the mothers. So all three of the children that were in the cast, their mothers were in it, not necessarily playing their own mothers. Tracy and Alfie did, but the rest of the cast, it was different people playing their parents. But what they said to me was they actually found it was quite difficult when they were backstage, when normally they could just focus on themselves. Where should I be next? What's my first line when I walk onto stage? What do I need? What props do I need, etc. They had to also concentrate on, where's my child's next scene? Where do they need to be? Are they okay? Have they got all they need? And actually, some of them said they found that quite stressful and quite difficult, because for them, there was two things going on for them.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved so much in the direction. You sort of took that over, but I know that I think the performers who played the surrogate parents of the children really got quite close to them through the process, which I thought was a really sweet thing.
It was.
Oh, here we go. I just loved this photograph. Again, there's three young people there who were from three different youth theatre groups, weren't they? Because Mandy down was with the red hat was from our work in Lawrence Western, and Dee in the middle from Young Carers, and Jeannie way back when we were doing work in Lawrence Western schools. Blimey, I lost track of when that was. I was the early 2000s or something.
Yeah, well, it was 19 years ago, I know, because both Jeannie and Mandy have just had their 30th birthdays, and they both started when they were 11, so it's 19 years ago. Yeah.
Ingrid, I know you're such a champion of youth theatre, and I wondered whether, how do you think that really adds to sort of adult theatre when people sort of can move through and sort of continue to use their skills?
Absolutely. I think in particular with actors' work, because the way we work, the way we encourage people to share their own stories, their own experiences, it's a different sort of way to working to other theatres, that they've learnt that way, and because they've got so used to sort of creating and devising and making theatre in that way rather than being given a script, they've become those skills that, they're quite difficult skills to teach somebody, and they've learnt them from very early on. So their sort of devising and creation it's become sort of instinctual to them. That's the kind of theatre they know. It's what they've always known. And to be able to sort of continue to work with people for that amount of time. And what's really lovely is Mandy's, here she is now, she's a young mum herself, she's got 2 children, and in the summer she's going to be bringing her own child, her older one, Alexia, to join in with the a summer workshop we're doing, and she's so excited to instill the theatre skills into her own daughter, and keeps talking to her about what she could do and how she can do it, and bringing her also, as with other members of the cast, bringing their own children all the time to come and see actor shows. Because they understand that theatre, they know it's for them, it's relevant, but also because they can afford to, with actor shows. So I think, you know, for any of them to know that they can continue to enjoy their love, their passion for theatre that they developed at such an early age, they can stay with us, they can continue to do that. And there's, you know, there's not many things in life that you can continue on when you've developed that childhood passion. Often life and work and takes you away from it, but they can still be part of it. You know, they can make time for it in their busy lives, which is just wonderful. And to keep that relationship for all of us going over those years is wonderful. Yeah.
And I think also, I was trying to get back to the picture of them, also to make theatre which is really relevant. And I think the fact that, you know, that one of the things about the Clippy story and the show that we created together is the fact that it's 100 years ago, but things aren't really that different, and that it ought to be. I wanted to just show Jake here again, who's another ex-youth theatre member who's continued to work on as an adult. No, there's a children's saw there, isn't it? I thought this is such a great photograph.
It is.
And what's lovely about this is you've got 4 characters there, as you say, they've all come through youth theatre, carried on, joined actor company, and there's 2 younger members who knows, they may continue. If actor continues for another 35 years, and they may be the actor company of the future. They certainly have got the talent and the skills to do it.
Absolutely.
I want to finish with this fantastic photograph, which shows the riot, or depicts riot. And I just want to talk just briefly to finish, as a director, the challenge of doing this scene, trying to get a massive riot with thousands of people onto a small stage with a small cast.
Absolutely. And I think the difficulty of making it look and feel real, and to try and get all the emotions across that everyone was feeling with, like, say, a small cast, and casts who are playing sort of conflicting characters that wouldn't be at the riot, that were sympathetic to the Clippies, but to get them all in there, to try and show the numbers and you know, to create it, like we said before, with very little set, with very little budget, you know, and but you know, we're lucky enough to have such a fantastic production manager who did all the lighting effects, and the lighting and the you know, all the effects that she was able to create, that really added to it. But also the cast, again, you know, I can't praise actor company enough for their commitment and their, you know, their commitment, A, to the project, but B, to their roles. And if you look at that photograph, every face is absolutely on it. And I think that was the key for this whole moment, was you need to feel it, you need to believe it, and if you do, then the audience will. And we worked quite a bit, didn't we, Neil, on should we slow-mo it, should we try and make it real, how should we do it? And after a few different attempts at trying different ways, the starting with it in real time and then moving into the slow motion just really worked. And the quiet and the music coming in, so going from the shouting and then the music taking over, and the cast being quiet, that feeling really worked, and they did it so well. I was very impressed with them, as I always am.
I think the reason I wanted to talk about Clippers this morning is I'm really missing the fact that we were meant to have been doing Clippers again in May, which was round about exactly 100 years the riots happened. But of course, with the lockdown period, we haven't been able to stage again. But we are hoping to, you know, when theatre is finally allowed to happen again, live theatre, we'll be bringing Clippers back and performing that. But in the meantime, we've got a special little project which we're going to be working on in the autumn, which I'm looking forward to as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I can't wait to get back to them and to the play, and to get the message out, to get that story out there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll I think what we've decided to do, you know, making a documentary about the clip is with some, we're lucky enough to have some footage of the performances we did last year. We'll be doing some interviews with cast members, and possibly you and I might have something to say about it. Yeah, so that, but yeah, so putting out that, working on that in the autumn, coming out later this year. But it's a nice, yeah, it's a very effective image to finish on. And I think that I know that you, as I do, love the heritage work that acta does. And I do sort of wonder sometimes whether I'm just being indulgent because I really like doing it. But do you think that it's still relevant to bring back stories from the past?
Oh, absolutely. I think the fact that whenever we do an historical piece, the audience is always packed. People love it, and I think people love it because they can connect to it. They can see things that mean something so much now. And I think whatever play we've done, there's always stories which are relevant to now. And there's also stories which is really important not to lose. It's part of the heritage of Bristol, and some of these stories that, you know, could be lost and forgotten, and lost and forgotten, there we go. But it would be, people just wouldn't know about them if it hadn't been for acta, you know, rummaging around in our history and finding these important stories. And the people, you know, who live these lives, it would all just been forgotten. And I think people really value that, and it's a connection to their heritage, and it's a connection to Bristol and to now. There's lots of stories and relevant lessons that we can learn from the past, which is, you know, really important for today.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I think sometimes telling the story of the past reflects so much more on the present. By looking at a story that happened 100 years ago, you can suddenly make comparisons with today and learn things about today. Because people in the end don't change very much. We're all people, and you know, the people in 1920 were having to deal with the aftermath of a terrible virus that had, you know, killed 50 million people around the world, and they were struggling with with women's rights and with mass unemployment. So there's a lot more in. I mean, clip is a lot more relevant now than it even was when we started devising it last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, let's. It's going to be very interesting to hopefully when we do put it on again to see if people come along and see the relevance. Well, Ingrid, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Cool.
I'm going
My absolute pleasure.
I'm going to share screen one more in order to show that one. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation and we haven't babbled on too much. And do keep watching these In Conversations. My next In Conversation session is with Kerry Schaefer, who's a professor of drama at Exeter University, who's on our board and is a big actor follower. So we're going to be talking about the Ticky Picky Boom Boom show and Gas Girl. So to have a look at that. Thanks very much, Ingrid, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.